The morning light spilled over the quiet neighborhood, the air cool and fresh with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers. Henry knelt beside his garden, planting extra wildflowers beyond his usual patch, humming softly under his breath. He said, "Just a little more color today." His hands worked the soil carefully, each seed a hope for more life. Across the street, Lucas paused mid-step, his camera resting against his chest, drawn by the sudden burst of color against the gray pavement. He thought, "This is something different." The flowers were alive with movement, bees buzzing, butterflies flitting, hummingbirds darting. Henry wiped sweat from his brow, unaware his simple act would soon weave their stories together. That garden wasn't just a patch of plants, it was becoming a sanctuary. Lucas adjusted his lens, capturing the fragile dance of nature reclaiming this small urban space. It was the start of something neither man had expected, a story of quiet beauty catching the eye of a wildlife photographer and changing their lives forever. Lucas found himself returning each morning, drawn by the life blooming where Henry had planted extra flowers. He adjusted his camera, whispering, "This garden is a hidden world." The colors were vivid, but it was the creatures it attracted that captured his attention. A hummingbird darted like a jewel, bees hummed busily, and a shy fox lingered at the edges. Henry noticed the stranger, nodded with a warm smile, and said, "It's surprising what a few extra seeds can do." Lucas replied quietly, "You've created something special here." The garden was no longer just a personal haven. It was a living story of growth, patience, and unexpected connections, the kind that only happen when nature and human kindness meet. Lucas's photographs began to tell that story, revealing the fragile beauty thriving against the backdrop of city life. Over days, Lucas' visits became routine. He captured not just images but moments, the delicate balance of life drawn to the extra flowers. Henry spoke softly, while tending the garden, "I never imagined this would attract so much life." Lucas smiled. Sometimes, the smallest actions grow the biggest stories. The wildlife grew bolder. A robin built its nest, bees buzzed in harmony, and the fox, once shy, seemed almost part of the garden's family. Lucas said, "You've given them a refuge." Henry's eyes glistened as he replied, "And they've given me a reason to look closer." Their worlds intertwined by the blooms, a partnership forged in quiet reverence for life's persistence. One afternoon, Lucas showed Henry a photograph on his camera screen, a hummingbird frozen in mid-flight, wings a blur of motion against a burst of red petals. "This," Lucas said, "is why I come here." Henry nodded, eyes fixed on the image. "It's more than flowers. It's life itself." The garden had become a bridge, connecting two strangers through shared wonder. Lucas added, "I want to tell this story, your story." Henry's voice caught, "I'm just a gardener." Lucas smiled gently, "And that's exactly why it matters." Together, they realized the small garden was no longer just a place. It was a narrative of hope, resilience, and unexpected beauty waiting to be shared with the world. As days passed, Henry's garden blossomed brighter, wildflowers spilling over the fence, inviting more wildlife and more stories. Lucas said, "You're creating a sanctuary in the city." Henry smiled quietly. "It started with a simple idea: plant more, watch life return." Their friendship deepened, forged in moments spent capturing fleeting beauty. Lucas confided, "This is the kind of story National Geographic needs." Henry chuckled, "Me, a gardener, in National Geographic?" Lucas nodded. Sometimes the smallest voices tell the loudest stories. The garden was no longer just a patch of earth, it was a beacon, a testament to how a few extra flowers could change everything. The garden had grown into a vibrant refuge, but with growth came challenges. Henry noticed the first signs of pests gnawing at leaves, and some flowers wilted unexpectedly. He frowned, muttering, "Nature always balances itself." Lucas, reviewing his photos, suggested, "Maybe we can find natural ways to protect the plants." That afternoon, they researched companion planting and organic remedies, determined to keep the garden thriving without harming the wildlife. The struggle felt like part of the garden's story, a reminder that beauty required effort and care. As dusk settled, Henry watered tender shoots carefully, the golden light softening his worried expression. Lucas captured the moment, knowing the real story was not just the blossoms, but the patience behind their survival. Determined, Henry and Lucas worked side by side to revive the garden. Henry planted marigolds and herbs, whispering to the earth, "Grow strong, little ones." Lucas adjusted his camera, capturing close-ups of ladybugs crawling on leaves, the natural protectors they'd welcome. Their teamwork was silent but powerful, two men bound by respect for life. Henry said, "This is more than gardening. It's a lesson in resilience." Lucas nodded, and it's worth telling. The garden, once a quiet patch of color, was becoming a symbol of hope and tenacity amid urban sprawl. With every healthy leaf, every returning butterfly, their bond deepened, rooted in shared purpose and quiet optimism. One morning, a new visitor arrived, a curious young girl from next door, clutching a sketch pad. She watched Henry with wide eyes and shy smiles. Henry invited her closer, saying, "Would you like to help?" She nodded eagerly. Lucas lowered his camera, intrigued by the new addition to their story. The girl began sketching flowers and insects, her hands moving confidently across the pages. Henry said, "This garden is for everyone." Lucas captured the moment, sensing that their quiet sanctuary was now blossoming into a community. The garden's story was growing richer, woven with fresh threads of connection and creativity. Days passed and the garden thrived under their care. Henry watched bees pollinate flowers while the girl sketched nearby, her drawings filling with vibrant colors. "Lucas," said quietly, "you've turned this into a living gallery." Henry smiled. "It's more than that now. It's a place to learn and grow." One afternoon, the three of them sat together, sharing stories and plans to expand the garden further. Henry's eyes shone with pride as he said, "From a few seeds to a community." The garden was no longer just a patch of earth. It was a growing symbol of hope and collaboration, a living testament to what kindness and patience could achieve. As summer deepened, the garden flourished like never before. Henry marveled at the transformation: lush blooms, buzzing bees, playful wildlife returning daily. Lucas prepared a portfolio of their work, saying, "This story belongs everywhere." Henry nodded, feeling pride and hope intertwine. The girl brought neighbors to see the garden, spreading the joy wider. Henry reflected, "It started with a simple act, planting a few extra seeds." Lucas smiled, "And look how far it's come." The garden was no longer just theirs. It was a beacon of renewal in the city, proof that small efforts could bloom into something extraordinary. Autumn's chill crept softly into the garden, tinting leaves in fiery hues. Henry wrapped his scarf tighter, surveying the space that had grown beyond his wildest hopes. The girl sketched beneath a maple tree, her breath visible in the crisp air. Lucas adjusted his camera, capturing the fragile dance of falling leaves. Henry murmured, "Change is part of the cycle, just like growth." The garden was transforming, readying itself for rest. Yet beneath the quiet, a new energy hummed, a promise that the seasons ahead would bring fresh stories. Together, they faced the inevitable shift with calm hearts, knowing this chapter was only part of the journey. One morning, Henry discovered that some plants had begun to wilt despite their care. He felt a pang of worry, yet refused to give in to despair. "Every garden faces hardships," he said quietly. Lucas captured close-ups of the fading petals and a young girl gently tending the struggling blooms. They brainstormed solutions, blending science and patience. The girl suggested drawing the plants daily to track subtle changes. Henry smiled, "We learn as much from struggle as from success." Their bond deepened, strengthened by resilience and shared hope. The garden's story was becoming a testament to endurance and love. As frost threatened Henry, Lucas and the girl gathered to prepare the garden for winter. Henry laid protective mulch with steady hands, while the girl collected fallen leaves for compost. Lucas documented the preparations with quiet reverence. "Winter is just another chapter," Henry said, a pause that invites renewal. They worked in sync, their quiet teamwork a ritual of care and respect. Despite the chill, Warmth radiated from their shared purpose. The garden, like them, was readying for rest, to bloom again in another time. Their commitment was unwavering, rooted in hope, even as the earth slept. Winter arrived with quiet stillness, covering the garden in frost. Henry peered through frost-coated windows, longing for spring's warmth. Lucas edited photos of the garden's last blooms, and the girl practiced drawing indoors, dreaming of flowers. They stayed connected, sharing plans and hopes through messages and sketches. Henry whispered, "This silence is just a breath before the next bloom." The garden's story was far from over. It rested now, gathering strength for future life. Their bond endured, tethered by shared passion and the unspoken promise of renewal. With the first signs of spring, hope blossomed again. Henry stepped outside as buds broke through the thawing earth. The girl returned to the garden, sketchpad in hand, eyes bright with anticipation. Lucas lifted his camera to capture the awakening light, and the trio reunited in their shared sanctuary. Henry smiled. Every season brings new stories. The garden was no longer just a patch of land. It was a living testament to patience, community, and love. Together, they embraced the endless cycle, ready to nurture what would come next, hand in hand with nature's rhythm. The garden had flourished beyond expectation, vibrant and alive under the summer sun. Henry and the girl walked slowly along winding paths, their footsteps soft against the lush grass. Lucas paused frequently, capturing candid moments of laughter and sunlight filtering through leaves. The air was heavy with the scent of jasmine and honeysuckle, mingling with the hum of bees. Henry reflected aloud, "This place has become more than plants, it's a living memory." The girl nodded, her eyes bright with pride and hope. Together they basked in the warmth of growth, aware of the fragile beauty of this season. One afternoon, a sudden storm rolled in, dark clouds swallowing the blue sky. Henry rushed to secure fragile plants, his hands steady despite the rising wind. The girl grabbed a raincoat, urging Lucas to help bring equipment inside. Raindrops hammered on leaves, the garden transformed into a symphony of sound and motion. "Storms test us," Henry said, "but they also cleanse and renew." The trio huddled briefly beneath a large oak, watching rain cascade in silver sheets. Their bond deepened in shared challenge, the garden's resilience mirroring their own resolve. After the storm, the garden shimmered with droplets clinging to petals and leaves. Sunlight pierced the clouds, casting rainbows across the wet earth. Henry knelt, examining the soil with care, while the girl sketched the sparkling scene with focused joy. Lucas captured the delicate interplay of light and water, his camera clicking softly. "After every storm, life shines brighter," Henry said, voice full of quiet wonder. Together, they celebrated survival and renewal, their spirits lifted by nature's resilience. The garden was alive with renewed hope. As summer faded toward evening, golden light softened the garden's edges. Henry, the girl, and Lucas gathered beneath a blossoming cherry tree, sharing quiet conversation. The girl held up a sketchbook, showing new drawings inspired by their journey. Henry's eyes twinkled as he spoke. "This garden is a story we write together." The air was fragrant with blooming flowers and the distant song of birds. They sat in companionable silence, feeling connected to the earth and each other. Time slowed, allowing gratitude to fill the space between words. As dusk settled, fireflies began to dance through the air, weaving glowing trails above the garden beds. Henry, the girl, and Lucas stood quietly, watching the tiny lights flicker like stars. The garden, once bare soil, had blossomed into a sanctuary of life and memory. Henry whispered, "Every seed we planted holds a story, a hope." The girl smiled softly, her eyes reflecting the flickering light. Lucas lowered his camera, feeling the moment's stillness. Together they embraced the night, knowing the garden's magic would continue to grow with every dawn. The morning sun crept softly over the horizon, casting a gentle glow on the garden that had become their shared sanctuary. Henry stood near the entrance, his hands resting on the weathered gate, eyes reflecting quiet contentment. The girl approached, her footsteps light on the dew-kissed grass. Lucas adjusted his camera thoughtfully, capturing the first warm light touching the leaves. "This place tells a story of patience and care," Henry said, voice steady and calm. The girl smiled, feeling the weight of all they had nurtured together. It was more than a garden. It was a living testament to growth and healing. By midday, the garden buzzed with life. Bees flitted among blossoms, while butterflies danced in the warm air. Henry knelt to tend to a rosebush, hands careful and practiced. The girl watered young seedlings, her face bright with concentration. Lucas moved through the scene, capturing intimate moments, the delicate balance of nature and human touch. "Every small act matters," Henry said softly. The garden was a canvas where patience painted beauty in slow strokes. Their efforts intertwined with the rhythms of the earth, creating harmony that spoke of hope and renewal. As afternoon deepened, clouds gathered, signaling a gentle rain would soon fall. Henry paused to look skyward, then smiled with quiet acceptance. The girl ran to close open windows of their nearby cottage. Lucas gathered his gear, ready to capture the shifting light. The rain began softly, a rhythmic patter on leaves and soil. "Life is full of changes," Henry remarked, "and we grow strongest by bending, not breaking." They watched the garden drink deeply from the sky, their spirits lifted by the cleansing rain. This moment marked the passage from one season to the next. Evening settled softly, wrapping the garden in cool shadows and amber light. Henry, the girl, and Lucas gathered around a small fire pit, warmth flickering against their faces. Stories were shared quietly, voices low and filled with gratitude. The girl's eyes reflected the flames as she traced patterns in the air. Henry's voice held steady. "We planted more than seeds here. We planted memories, love, and resilience." Lucas captured candid moments, the firelight dancing across their features. The garden was a refuge, a place where time slowed and bonds deepened. Night enveloped the garden, stars sparkling overhead like scattered diamonds. Fireflies returned, their soft light weaving through the cool air. Henry, the girl, and Lucas stood side by side, gazing upward with quiet awe. "This journey has taught us the value of patience," Henry whispered. The girl nodded, eyes wide with wonder. Lucas lowered his camera, the night stillness filling the space between them. The garden, alive with memories and light, stood as a testament to the power of nurture and time. Together, they embraced the promise of new beginnings hidden in every ending. The dawn broke over the tranquil village, soft pinks and oranges flooding the sky. Henry stepped onto the porch, breathing deeply the crisp morning air. The girl appeared with a basket of fresh herbs, her expression calm and thoughtful. "New days bring new chances," Henry said quietly. Lucas stood nearby, camera ready, catching the tender moment framed by blooming lilacs. The day held promise, as if the world itself was opening to them again, inviting them to embrace whatever came next. By midday, the village square thrummed with activity. Market stalls displayed vibrant fruits and textiles. Henry moved with purpose, selecting ripe tomatoes. The girl greeted neighbors with a shy smile. Lucas captured candid street scenes, the laughter, the bustle, the simple joy. "Life's richness is found in connection," Henry mused. The energy around them was contagious, a celebration of community and shared stories. They felt woven into this tapestry, each thread essential. Afternoon brought a calm lull. Henry and the girl sat beneath an ancient oak, sharing stories in quiet voices. Lucas rested nearby, camera set aside, watching them with gentle appreciation. The breeze stirred leaves above, creating shifting patterns of light and shade. "This peace is hard-earned," Henry said softly. The girl nodded, feeling the weight of their journey. Here, in this moment, the past and future merged, a bridge made of memories and dreams. As evening deepened, the trio walked along a winding path lined with glowing lanterns. The garden behind them shimmered in twilight, colors softening into blues and purples. Henry's steps were steady, The girl's hand brushed gently against the wildflowers. Lucas lifted his camera for one last shot, capturing the harmony between light and shadow. "Every ending holds a new beginning," Henry whispered. They moved forward together, hearts aligned with the fading light. Nightfall embraced the village in a velvet cloak. Stars glittered high above as Henry, the girl, and Lucas stood together on a hilltop. The village lights twinkled below like earthbound constellations. "Our story doesn't end here," Henry said with quiet certainty. The girls smiled, feeling the boundless possibilities stretching before them. Lucas lowered his camera, the moment too perfect to capture. Together, they faced the future, ready to write new chapters beneath the endless sky. The early morning mist clung to the fields like a silken veil, softening wildflowers and stretching grass. Henry walked steadily, each step deliberate. The girl's wide eyes held wonder and cautious hope, her fingers brushing dew-kissed petals. Lucas observed, heart pounding, capturing light and shadow in perfect balance. The sun crept above the horizon, promising warmth. Birds called distantly, songs weaving through mist like whispers. The path twisted ahead, unknown yet inviting, a quest for something lost. Henry glanced back, meeting the girl's gaze. A silent pact formed. Their footsteps stirred the quiet earth. Dew shimmered, catching fragments of light. Time seemed suspended between what was and might be. Lucas adjusted his lens, the weight of the moment pressing down. "Every journey starts with a single step," Henry whispered, nearly lost in rustling leaves. Together, their silhouettes blended with the awakening landscape. By late morning, the ancient stone bridge emerged like a timeless relic, moss clinging to its arches. Henry touched the rough surface, sensing the weight of years. The girl traced ivy curling around stones, reverent and quiet. Lucas crouched, framing the weathered textures and soft light filtering through clouds. The bridge spoke of journeys past, whispered in moss and stone, a threshold between time's flow. Henry said softly, "This bridge carries hopes and dreams intertwined in its fabric." The girl's eyes shone with understanding. The river's gentle current mirrored time itself, always moving forward. Sunlight broke through clouds, casting delicate highlights on mossy bricks. Lucas captured not just image but soul. The bridge stood as a symbol, both crossing and keeper of stories. The afternoon sun bathed rolling hills in golden light, turning herbs into pools of shimmering green and amber. Henry knelt among wildflowers, hands moving gently over leaves. The girl crouched nearby, wide-eyed, absorbing every scent and texture. Lucas circled, searching for angles that told their story of connection. "Growth requires patience," Henry murmured. "Nurture unseen for long stretches until it blooms." The girl nodded, learning lessons of resilience. Hills rolled endlessly, shadows stretching with sunset. Colors deepened, a soft breeze carried pine and wildflower scents. Lucas felt the scene seep into his soul. Some moments resist capture, they must be felt. Together, they embodied growth and hope beneath the fading sun. Dusk painted the sky in violet and indigo hues, as the trio found a clearing framed by towering pines. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Henry knelt to kindle a small fire. Flames crackled, casting flickering shadows on their faces. The girl sat cross-legged, eyes reflecting dancing light, caught between day and night. Lucas set aside his camera, drawn into the stillness wrapped around them. The fire's warmth contrasted the chill settling in the air. Henry whispered, "In silence, we learn to listen. In stillness, we find truth." The girl's gaze drifted upward, where stars pierced the twilight. Around them, the forest whispered secrets on the breeze, stories of endurance, renewal, peace. The fire became their beacon, symbolizing fragile light in darkness. Lucas felt calm settle over him. Tonight, the fire told their story better than any photo. Night stretched above, a vast velvet canopy glittering with stars. Henry, the girl, and Lucas lay on a blanket, eyes tracing constellations like ancient storytellers. The distant village glow was swallowed by the cosmos, reminding them of their smallness. The girl whispered, "What stories do the stars hold?" Henry smiled, eyes shining, endless stories of beginnings, endings, hope beyond sight. Lucas lowered his camera, knowing some memories belong only to the soul. The cool air carried nature's pulse, rustling leaves, owl calls, steady breathing. Bound by silence and wonder, they found a connection deeper than words or images, a bond forged by journey and quiet dreams. The girl reached out, fingers tracing imaginary star lines, weaving stories only they understood. Henry held her hand, a silent promise, this night, and all it held was theirs forever. Beneath infinity, they dreamed of what was and all that could be.